And yet another way to exalt Jesus is to contrast him with others. To contrast him with others. Sometimes providing a contrast is the best way to describe something. And that is what John, the apostle, the writer of this gospel, is doing in the middle of John 18. John is showing his readers, including us, just how supremely glorious Jesus is by contrasting him, particularly with Peter, with someone who is just like us in many ways. And in doing that, John is appealing to our innate sense that there's someone greater than us. He's calling us to see that we need someone greater who is everything that we need. And amazingly, John makes this striking contrast to show Jesus' greatness also at the time of Jesus' greatest weakness. The time of Jesus' lowest hours, you might say, in his earthly sojourn. John uses some of Jesus' most degrading times to show us again that he is supreme over all. And that supremacy is contrasted in a way that shows us our desperate need for him. So that is the mindset with which we approach John 18, verses 15 through 32 today as we walk through John's gospel week by week. And so as we look at this text, we can see ourselves in Peter's failures, and that should lead us to see and honor and trust the Lord Jesus. It should remind us that Jesus is the one we look to who will never let us down. And so note maybe as a first outline point as we get into this, we need Jesus because we are weak, but he is strong. I know that sounds really simple. It's a snippet from a child's song, but it is vital, a vital reality and truth to apply. We need Jesus because we are weak, but he is strong. God is the God of truth. It seems like such an obvious trap. But lying is normal in our culture, sadly. And so we need to be warned, even as Christians, not to fall into this easy little trap that Peter did. 1, and then 2, and then cursing 3. One of Jesus' 3 closest disciples. He witnessed Jesus' glory on the Mount of Transfiguration in all his radiant light and majesty. He heard Jesus say that he is the truth. But Peter gave in to the sin of lying. Now, none of us are perfect, right? We're all sinful by nature and by practice. And we as Christians we can fall into sin. And so be warned by Peter here. And see, in contrast, why we so desperately need Jesus. Because we're sinful. We're sinful. Big and small ways. But Jesus is perfect. It's the second point to draw out of this narrative in this contrast. We need Jesus. Point number 2, we need Jesus because we're sinful. We are sinful, but Jesus is perfect. We are sinful like Peter. As he spiraled into these denials of Christ, you likely can think of little things where you have some rationalizing dialogue in your own head, if not out of your own mouth. Jesus proved to be perfect. He faced more insults and inquiries, and there were no true charges that could be raised against him. Look at verses 28 to 32 again. We need Jesus because we are sinful, but he is perfect. We need his atonement for our many sins. We need his perfect life of righteousness to be granted to our account so that we are viewed as having lived out his holiness. Jesus is the only display of human holiness, perfect holiness, and we look to him even as a model to follow. We need Jesus because we are sinful, but he is perfect. We need him because we are weak, but he is strong. And so whether you've come to know Jesus or whether you've known Him for years, I pray you're reminded this morning you need Jesus. You need Jesus. I pray you sense that need and gladly trust Him.